Alright, so one day this book's gonna end and I'll have to go back to reading my own shit. But before I do, I thought, why don't I read some stuff that kept me going in my 20s, or at least was entertaining? Because much of what I read, from childhood even till today was nonfiction. It's pretty rare that I found a novel that I like, because I've read all kinds of stuff, but it wasn't until I read War and Peace that I had any kind of real sense of liking something or not liking something. I just read and just accepted it. And not like, oh, I just believe everything it says or anything like that, but it was like I didn't have a sense of not liking what I was reading. I would just read and, put it in my brains. And even so, for the fiction, even like the political fiction, like The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged or something, I would have to read it a few times to like figure out what it was that was factually wrong with it, because I would just be immersed in the story, and so I derived very little pleasure from reading. It was just a way to not get sucked into television or like get the arthritis making the things. So, or pass the time on the bus, pass the time before a shift. But yeah, after War and Peace, I was like, I don't really like this. And I'll go ahead and tell you why. Because I didn't personally know Napoleon, so I had no stake in that game, and I thought his obsession with being a Napoleon hater was tedious as fuck. And I thought, I liked, so I don't know if I liked it or not. What I found 100 Years of Solitude more tolerable in its myriad characters, because at least, though everybody had like the same names passing down through the generations, which was a little confusing. It could be a little confusing if they were like reminiscing. Although the all is known part was, I carry that. I just love that idea. It's very Akashic Records. But anyway, in War and Peace, everybody has like 3 names, because they got their proper name, and then their using name, and then their nickname, that only the family or the lovers use. And then I found the character development blocky. Just having these 2 guys kind of switch characteristics didn't do it for me, because it's not how life works. It's not how people work. And it's not like a one and done. We oscillate through all kinds of characteristics throughout life, and to go through all that to get to this, like a half paragraph being like, my bad, and then the quiet knowing of the lady was like, this is such a fucking drag. And after that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to be more careful with how I spend my time reading, because I don't want to just fill my head with all this. This isn't, and that took a long time. That took until like my mid to late 20s. But before that happened, I came across Chuck Palahniuk's Survivor and Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. And I didn't get super into Vonnegut. I didn't get into him as much as I did Heinlein. And not like into Heinlein, like I don't much care for Heinlein. But he had, like Space Cadet was groundbreaking, and it didn't matter how I felt about it. That was just like true science fiction. And Stranger in a Strange Land had, some formative concepts, even though he was a fucking cad. And all that. Very much a product of his time, I could say. Anyway, so I thought I'd read some excerpts from these, and I thought about doing Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and The Strange Island of Dr. Morio, but then I opened them up because I thought I would do the monsters monologue. And I go through it. It's longer than I remember. Like when I was thinking about it, I thought, oh gosh, there was this part of it that was so good, and I read through the whole damn thing because it's a few chapters, with some conversations at the polar ends, and it's like, nah, I remember it better than I like it now, and so I'm not gonna bore you with that. And then with Morio, God, it was worse. It was so much worse. It's like there is no part of this that's like truly profound, not enough to warrant a reading. It had this slow creep of horror, and there wasn't enough self-awareness to make me feel good about it. I just figured it was, part of history more or less. But that got me thinking about the Dead Astronauts series, or whatever the series is called, from the Jeff Vandermeer series, that The Strange Bird and The Dead Astronauts are from. And I might go through that and find some things to read from there, because that trilogy was so beautiful and so horrible and better than The Strange Island of Dr. Morio. So I might do that. And then, eventually I'll get around to reading my own stuff again, which it turns out I like a great deal less. I like doing that less because I know it better, and it doesn't have that otherness, that's exciting and that you can really learn from, because there's only so much you can get out of a mirror. Not to devalue self-reflection, but it has its limits. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I hope that it delights you as much as it delighted me to revisit them. I mean, I didn't read for these two. I didn't read the whole things again because I got other shit to do. But I did flip through and found, there's just this one part in Slaughterhouse-Five that I really enjoyed, that has kept me company for the many years. And if you've read Slaughterhouse-Five, you will definitely remember this part because it's so beautiful. It's really the heart, the beating pulse of the book. And if you haven't read Slaughterhouse-Five, then I hope that this little excerpt invites you to do so. Although, fair warning, the rest of the book, it just isn't as good as that one part. So if you're not a reader, then hey, it's the elevator scene. So yeah, but this book is fucking hilarious and profound, and I don't know that I agree with everything Chuck Palahniuk has ever said or done, or the premises behind what he's written, but he does fascinating work, and he does this crazy side quest research for it. Like, if you've ever read Snuff or ever want to read Snuff, Jesus fucking Christ, the due diligence that man went through to write that book was a wild ass ride. So I'm not going to read any excerpts for that, and I don't have a copy. But yeah, I'll be digging around my library and seeing if I have anything else that sparks joy that I want to share with you before I'm forced to get back to reading my own poetry. But I am going to try to keep up with the Sundays, and I hope that you have enjoyed Mercy. I have enjoyed reading it more than I thought I would. Obviously my dyslexia shows a lot, and I don't care at all. And sometimes, it takes me a minute to warm up, but the way that she writes makes it easy for me to do that, and that's been a real gift. I've very much enjoyed that, and I hope you have too. All right.